Hey, all you minties, Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for my overview of the Conan the Barbarian, the original Marvel Years Omnibus Volume 9, getting close to that final volume. So, let's get started. And welcome back, everybody. So what we're looking at here is Volume 9 of Conan the Barbarian, the original Marvel Years. This was already released in the direct market and book market. What we're looking at here is the standard edition. On the left-hand side is the direct market cover, actually drawn by Michael Higgins and inked by Jim Lee, whereas the standard edition cover here is drawn by Jim Lee and inked by Scott Williams. So again, direct market, that's only available at your local comic book stores, places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, Dying Breed Collectors, DCBS, In-Stock Trades, Comics Bugle, and places like that online. So, that's the only place to get the direct market cover. This cover here, though, is available everywhere. By the way, the spines are the same, otherwise I would have shown it. But here we have Conan the Barbarian, looking a lot different than he normally does. A lot of people, you know, whenever they think of Conan, they think of the lion cloth, and yeah, that's pretty much it. He carries a broadsword. And I think that's a lot to do with one of the writers on here, and that's Val Semeiks, who you'll see here. And then all the other creators. Volume 9, Conan the Barbarian, the original Marvel Years, the Marvel Omnibus up at the top. And then the covers of the issues collected in here. Retail price $125, teen plus. And then what it collects down here. Young Conan's First Adventures. Yeah, we are going to talk about that, because that was pretty interesting. Alright, underneath the dust jacket is the exact same design that we have seen time and time again, and come to expect from these Conan books. The exact same spine is on the dust jacket, and then that symbol back there. Alright, let's crack this open, talk a little bit about the stories found in here, check out the artwork, and then we'll talk about the build of this omnibus. Alright, let's crack this book open. Same end paper we have seen for so long. Here's another image of Conan by Jim Lee with his horse, not Jim Lee with his horse, Conan with his horse, bursting through a door. I believe it was a barn door. Here are the main creators during this particular era. Val Semeiks, Charles Santino, Jerry Conway, Gary Kwapis, Michael Higgins, Ron Lim, and Gary Hartle. There is another name that makes a return here, but he's not credited as his name at first. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. Here are the specific credits to the writers, the pencilers, the layout artists, the inkers, finishers, letters, because there's a difference between inking and finishing. Again, pushing the Understanding Comics book. Letterers, colorists, editors at the time, collection cover art, and of course the variant collection cover art. Here is your table of contents. Yes, that is Mark Texeria inking that particular part. Oh man, his artwork is so killer in this. We get 2 introductions. I love these. So we know that Titan's going to end up reprinting these omnis. As a matter of fact, we have Volume 1 of Conan the original Marvel Years already up for pre-order, and they're doing direct market variants, just like Marvel did. We have Volume 1 of Savage Sword of Conan Omnibus being reprinted by Titan, and according to the collected editions editor, Corey Settlemeyer, who worked on these books, everything is going to be identical as far as the look of the books, except the spine, of course, will have the Titan logo instead of the Marvel Omnibus logo up at the top. So, we'll see. I'd like to see the finished product, what kind of printing they're going to use, what kind of paper. I don't think Titan has printed big books like this, so it's going to be interesting to see how well they are made. But rejoice in the fact that they're actually getting reprinted. No word yet on Epic Collections or continuing Dark Horse stories, but at least we know they're going to continue Savage Sword of Conan with a Volume 9, and they're going to reprint Volumes 1 and 2 of Savage Sword of Conan, and Volumes 1 and 2 of Conan, the original Marvel Years. There's an introduction by Michael Higgins right here, and by Val Semeiks, talking about his time writing the character of Conan, how he wanted to take him out of this area that he's been in for the last couple of years, and, you know, take him on further adventures, and also change his clothing. That's what I was talking about on the cover. Like, he was tired of Conan looking the same in every adventure. This is a really interesting story where he just ends up in this desert city of light. He's greeted by this goddess-looking woman, and something seems off about this particular city. These sculptures start coming to life, so he has to fight them, and is any of this real, or is he just hallucinating? I'll be honest with you, these stories in here, while they're still Conan, they're still fun, they are missing that flavor that I love of Conan, even in the previous volumes. I think this is the volume that first hit me that, yeah, I can see why people said, I'm done after Roy Thomas leaves, I'm not going to get any. After Big John Buscema leaves, I can understand why, because you do get a little fatigued, but that happens with everything. The stories start becoming a little bit repetitive. Conan goes and rescues people, he rescues a maiden that's in trouble, he fights giant creatures. But honestly, the way that I read these is, I take a break from reading superhero comics, or when I was doing my top 10 standalone graphic novels. You know, that's some heavy reading or heavy rereading at times. And I take a break because I know what to expect from a Conan story. Sometimes it is dialogue heavy, but most of the time it's just Conan, this guy, over-the-top adventures that doesn't stop. And I come to realize, I never thought about this, that, you know, he's not a normal dude. And I know I say that. This is a really interesting story here. As I'm flipping through here and I realize he has like almost invulnerable skin. Like, it's hard to penetrate his skin. He has this ungodly amount of energy. Like, he just gets up no matter how many times he's beaten. Now we start getting the Jim Lee covers. As a matter of fact, we actually have a Jim Lee cover with the previous issue right here, inked by Scott Williams again. But the internal artwork is done by Val Semeiks, Alfredo Alcala inking his stuff, Charles Santino being the co-plotter and writer. Yeah, it's weird. I never thought about that. Like, the density of his bones are different than normal man's. I never thought about the idea that he could be more than just human. Up until I started reading these, and I don't know, maybe I just got caught up in all of this and started thinking about the science behind Conan. It's ridiculous, I know. This is the cover, of course, to the standard edition, and that's the clothing that he wears on the inside, so pretty cool. Then what ends up happening? Well, we get a couple of fill-in issues, this one written by Larry Hama, and we get the return of both Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway. They had left to go and join the Distinguished Competition, and part of the deal with Roy Thomas returning back to Marvel, not to Conan, not yet anyway, was that his buddy, Jerry Conway, could come along with him. There's an Andy Kubert cover. Jeff Sr. drawing this. Don Perlin actually writing some of this. Jeff Sr. Doing some of the artwork in here. So it seems like they got some Transformers artists to come in here. And I know that Don Perlin is famous for, of course, writing or drawing Ghost Rider. Here's a Michael Fleischer story. So Michael Fleischer returns for a couple of standalone issues. With, yes, this is what I was talking about. You have these issues right here that are inked by Mark Texeria. And oh my gosh, did I want more of this. There's only 2 issues. And Jose Delbo, another artist from Transformers. This time around, Jerry Conway coming into the book. Now, Michael Higgins had the idea that he wanted to start a new era of Conan. And we're going to get to that here in a little bit. And by now he had been taking over editing duties of Conan. And then he became a pretty much work-for-hire contractor instead of a full-time editor. So he kind of changed up his schedule some. So with Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway coming back, he knew his days were numbered, that he probably wouldn't get to write Conan for long, but he was going to have fun with it while he was on the book. Again, look at this artwork. This is just stellar. This is the kind of stuff I wish the entire book had. It has almost a feel of that old school, I don't know, Joe Kubert or Big John Buscema tone to it. I love this art, right? And of course, Mark Texeria doing the inks is helping a lot. But yeah, he doesn't even do the full inks in this issue right here. Rodney Ramos does some of the inks. And you can definitely tell when Rodney Ramos is doing it, this is the Weird Cat people. And when Texeria is doing the inks of a book. And then we get some Dwayne Turner. Like, this is early, young Dwayne Turner. Long before he was in the pages of drawing Spawn. Like, that kind of style that he ended up with. But before he started taking over other Marvel books, this is what he was doing. He did the breakdowns here. Again, we have Mark Texeria right there. That's the pencils and inks by him. Now, all of this kind of serves the purpose of just telling a Conan adventure, but not really impacting the story of where it's going to go. The idea was for Michael Higgins to come in, and he wanted to write the book. He wanted to relaunch Conan with a brand new #1. But editors at the time were like, no. You don't get to renumber it. That's ridiculous. Funny enough, how often does that happen nowadays? So this collects issues 214 and 240 of Conan the Barbarian. And it also collects one of my favorite What If issues number 16 of the What If series. All right. So with this issue, 231, this is Frank Springer doing the artwork here. Jerry Conway and Don Perlin actually doing the inks of this issue. So with this issue, it wraps up this kind of like filler issues of Conan, if you will. And we get to, that is a really interesting outfit Conan is wearing there. And we get to the next era with some young guns. Young gun named Ron Lim takes over as the artist. This is a throwback to issue number 1, the Barry Windsor Smith cover. It is, again, Kyle Higgins with Jim Lee on inks. But now Ron Lim is your artist. He's your penciler. You have Dan Adkins inking his artwork. And it's funny, in the introduction, Michael Higgins talks about how he wished that Dan Adkins had inked his cover, because while 99% of the population would say, yeah, Jim Lee inking, awesome, let's make that happen, he was like, I wanted a traditional inker like Dan Adkins to ink it. And this is some really good stuff for a young artist like Ron Lim. Now, there is a reason why this is a all new, the rebirth of a legend, the saga begins. There is a twist at the end of this story. And it's interesting to read about King Conan talking to his son, Khan, because that's what you find in the pages of King Conan. So it's weird to see it here, but it really is the retelling of an origin. There's a little bit of a twist at the end of this issue right here of 232 that leads into the next issue. So let's go there. I don't want to spoil the twist for anybody. Then we get to issue 232. Now we get a throwback to the classic young Conan look. I think that's actually the box art that he wanted for the issue 232, but for some reason the editors or assistant editor didn't get the memo in time, so they have the classic older Conan there, but he wanted to make him a younger Conan. So this is the younger Conan days, where he makes friends, he makes enemies for the first time, he's learning how to battle, and you'll see him grow as a character. You see what happens to his mom, you see what ends up happening to his father. He has a friend, this is Jorma right there, who he wields with and becomes an enemy for a little while, and then horrible things happen to both of them, because we know, we've seen the story, and that's what I wanted to get to. So I think for the first time since I've been reading Conan, and I'm not a Conan expert by any means, but it feels like this is the first big retcon of Conan, because we've seen his history before. We've seen his origin. We know what ends up happening to his parents. We know how he came to be. But it feels like Michael Higgins wanted to retell things in his way, and shoehorning new characters in there, having new adventures that didn't really make sense for that time. And I want to say that this is the first time that I remember that happening in the pages of Conan. We meet the character of Melanie, and again, Joran. And we see Conan age a little bit, so we see him get a little bit older, but again, young Conan adventures all through these pages. Oh, and this is a story, this is a really interesting story. It's called The Death of Conan. And he wanted to tell this story not when he was a young man, but when he's older, so that there are some, how do I put this, high stakes out there. By now, Ron Lim had left the book because they wanted him to draw a Cyclops story for that Marvel Comics Presents. And you know when you go with the X, baby, there's no going back. After that, of course, he found a home in Silver Surfer, finished out Infinity Gauntlet, and oh my gosh, he was drawing 4 to 5 issues a month. That man was busy, so he never got a chance to come back to Conan. But someone else did. In issue 240, we have a brand new writer named Justin Arthur. He's the guest writer. However, if you read the introduction, you know that Justin Arthur is just a pseudonym for Roy Thomas. Roy Thomas came back to Conan the Barbarian And I can't wait to see where it goes with Volume 10, the final volume that wraps up the Marvel series. All the letter pages are intact. You get the Todd McFarlane preview right there. And then you get this, one of my favorite issues of What If. Keep in mind, this is the late 80s, early 90s What If, not classic What If. But it is What If Wolverine battled Conan the Barbarian. I love this story right here. Written by Glenn Herdling. And it's a story that can only be done in the What If universe. Here, when being transported from the big fight with Phoenix up in space and the Imperial Guard, Wolverine gets accidentally transported to Conan's time. So, without saying anything, they just start fighting. Red Sonja shows up here, and they just start duking it out. It's the fight that people have been wanting to see. Of course, years later, this kind of came true with Savage Avengers, but it's this particular fight. The twist at the end is a twist that I'm sure most people see coming because we are talking about a What If comic. Freaking love this story, and I'm so glad it's included in here. So speaking of included, I don't know the deal between Marvel, Titan, and the Robert E. Howard estate. I don't know if things like this can be reprinted with Titan Omnis. I don't know if they'll be able to reprint the What If issues. I don't know if they'll be able to use Red Sonja. I don't know any of those details, but as soon as I do, I'll be happy to let people know. I usually talk about these things on my Saturday stream when I find out about these things. But as soon as I find out, I will let others know. Not a lot of extras in this one. I do love this right here. This house ad just makes it look epic. I really like the colors being used here. And then Jim Lee original art. There's the Kyle Higgins piece. Or not Kyle Higgins, I'm sorry. Michael Higgins. Did I call him Kyle the entire time? Oh man, I sure hope not. Michael Higgins. Kyle Higgins is the gentleman that wrote Power Rangers and is doing the Radiant Black series. And then unused pencils photocopy right there. And original artwork to Conan 235 by Ron Lim. So this book has 704 pages. Let's check out the binding. Not much of an eye, but 704 pages. This is one of the most slimmest Conan the Barbarian Omnis to be released. Printed at the iMac printer. But again, Conan at iMac seems to be a thing they've been doing forever. So there's not really a lot of art bleeding through from the opposite page. Honestly, it feels like the paper quality that they used in... What was the book I just did? New Warrior. Sorry, I filmed these on different days, so I'm not sure when I released the videos. But yeah, New Warriors, I think it's the video that I released before this one. But yeah, didn't have an issue with it. We got one more volume, and that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this book, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know near mint condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking this up, if you're excited to finally get the final volume coming out here in December, if you're going to continue getting them through Titan's publishing company. They're going to be doing a volume 11, which I assume is the Conan series that started after the original Conan series ended. Not sure what plans they have as far as Epic collections or if they're going to do any Dark Horse stuff, but it is really exciting to see the team that restored this stuff continue over to Titan. So, any questions, leave your questions down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. We are on Spreadshop and Patreon, amazing ways to support the channel. By crumb, we're almost there.